Jake here for Extreme Terrain, and today I'm taking a look at the PowerStop OE replacement front and rear brake rotor and pad kit fitting 2007 to 2021 Tundras. If you're looking for an affordable, effective upgrade to your street-driven Tundras brakes, then PowerStop has got you covered here. While these are a mild upgrade versus your stock brakes, they're still going to give you some enhanced stopping power and a factory fresh feel for about the best price in the category. There are a few places on my own vehicles where I believe it's worth spending the extra bucks and whatever the budget will allow, and brakes are one of those places. PowerStop's products are consistently excellent too. They're going to provide you with increased braking performance versus your stock setup. You can take solace in knowing that you've got a quality product backing you up. Now, this kit that we have here is meant to be a direct replacement for your stock brakes, both front and rear. It has a few extra little tidbits thrown in to make things just that little bit more pleasant in your factory brakes as well. Now, the rotors, both front and rear, are of the solid vented variety, much like your stock brakes. However, the real magic lies within the brake pads. Now, these are made using PowerStop's proprietary ceramic compound, and it's designed to give you really good bite while keeping dust and noise to a minimum. So not only should these outperform your stock brakes, they should also produce less dust, less noise as well, so it's a total win-win-win. Now, the pads here are chamfered on the edges and they're slotted down the center to help keep noise at bay too. And on the back side, you've got dual-layered rubberized shims to also help keep out any unwanted noise and vibration. PowerStop also includes all new stainless steel hardware for both the front and rear in the kit, to make sure that you have a pretty solid refresh of your braking system and to keep all that noise down. So these are going to stop better, they're going to make less noise, and they're just going to generally outperform your stock brakes without any real fuss. Now, I say all that, but it is important to keep in mind that these are intended to be used on the street for a daily driven truck, not necessarily one that's seeing really heavy towing or hauling use. If that's what you're doing with your Tundra, then I'd recommend taking a look at one of PowerStop's more upgraded kits, as that may suit your needs a little bit more. But if you're just using your truck as a daily driver, occasional trips to the hardware store and back, things like that, family vacation, what have you, these are going to be a perfect upgrade for you. Now, as far as construction goes, those pads that we were talking about, again, feature that proprietary ceramic compound. This is also going to be designed to resist rust and corrosion, and again, be low noise and low dust while giving you that little bit of extra bite. They also use a positive mold technology during the manufacturing process for the pads, making them really strong and durable. And that pad surface is also thermal scorched for optimal performance and a fast break-in. And the rotors that we were talking about earlier, these are made from OEM grade cast iron. These are also totally mill balanced for smooth, balanced operation. There shouldn't be any vibration or any bit of warping in these coming right out of the box. It should be pretty good for a long time since they're made to such strict tolerances. They're also going to fit and perform just as well, if not better, than your original equipment. Now, the faces of the rotors feature this cross-hatched pattern here, and that's going to help with break-in. Now, these rotors are also built to have the same weight and vane count as your originals too, so they're going to provide you with a little bit more stopping power, a little bit better overall fit and finish, but similar operation to your factory setup. This kit is going to run you about $400, and that makes it the least expensive full brake kit in the category. Now, it is a great upgrade. It's still going to cost you less than what the equivalent parts from Toyota directly would cost, and you're going to get better braking performance to boot. So for that, I really don't think there's anything to argue with here. You're getting solid braking performance, a nice refresh for your whole system, and it's going to be cheaper than going OEM too. So with that, I don't see any reason not to recommend it. Installation is going to get a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and you should plan on this job taking you about 3 hours to complete. Now, brakes can be a bit of a difficult thing to do if you've never had the pleasure of doing them before, but once you've done a set of disc brakes on one vehicle, figuring it out on anything else is pretty simple. And once you've got one corner done here, the rest should be a breeze. And now, to walk you through the process of getting these installed, let's head on out to the shop. We'll give you a detailed walkthrough.
For this install, you will need a ratchet, 12, 17, and 19 millimeter sockets, a fixed piston caliper compressor tool, as well as a single piston caliper compressor tool. Also not pictured here is a jack and jack stands. What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing a set of pads and rotors on our Tundra, but before we do that, we're going to send you to watch a short video on how to uninstall your factory set, and we'll see you when you get back.
So the first thing we're going to do, now that I have my wheel off, I have our vehicle on the lift. If you're at home on the ground, make sure if you jack your vehicle up, you put jack stands under it so you support it properly. First thing we're going to do is remove this clip right here. I'm going to pull that out. It's going to give us access to punch both our pins out. Then we'll be able to lift up and then remove our brake pads. So now I'm going to take my cutting pliers. I'm just going to get in here just like this. Pop this clip out like that. And then get down here and do the same with the bottom one. Just pull it out. We'll take it off just like that. Once we get that out of the way, we will just be able to push our pins, pull them out. Same with the bottom one. And that'll give us access to lift our pads. And that little clip popped off, but not a big deal. We'll put that on when we put the new ones in, and we'll get our pads out and remove our pads. Next, I'm going to take my 12mm with my 3/8 gun, and I'm going to loosen this bolt up here. That'll give us access to move our brake hose. We'll get that bolt out of the way. That'll let us slide our brake hose off. That way when we get our caliper removed, we'll be able to set it down. This won't be holding it up. So now we have 2 bolts right here, this one and this one. They're 19mm. I'm going to take a 19mm on a breaker bar and break these 2 loose. They are usually on pretty tight. So I'm just going to get them loose with my breaker bar. Just like that. Then I'll switch over to my 1/2" drive ratchet with my 19mm and bring them out the rest of the way. Same on the bottom one here. And once I get them loose enough, I'll be able to remove them by hand. And same with the bottom one. And that'll allow us to slide our caliper off. I'm going to just let it hang just there, right like that. Last, what we're going to do is just grab a hold of the rotor. Now sometimes you have to smack it with a hammer right here. Ours is pretty loose. It's a newer vehicle, so I'm just going to be able to grab it, slide it right off. So now we're going to remove our rear brake system. We're going to remove the caliper. There's 2 17mm here I'm going to have to remove. Then we'll get back here. There's 2 19mm back there. We'll remove the whole brake caliper bracket that holds it on, and then I'll give us access to get to the rotor. So now we're going to remove these 2 first, these 2 17mm. I'm going to take my 17mm, my 1/2" drive ratchet, break them loose. Same with the bottom one. And screw these bolts out. Get them out of the way. And that'll allow us just to set our caliper aside, which will give us access to start removing our brake pads. That's one. And remove the outer one here. Just wiggle them out. Now that our brake pads are removed and our caliper is removed, that'll give us access to these 2 19mm, which we'll get off now. So now we're going to go and remove our 2 19mm here. I'm going to take my 19mm socket with my 1/2" drive breaker bar, and break these 2 loose. They're on there pretty good. So once I get them loose, I can go back to my 1/2" drive with my 19mm and remove these 2 bolts. Set these aside, and that'll let us remove our caliper bracket. Now we'll be able to get access to our rotor. So now that we have our caliper bracket off, that gives us a clear shot to pull our rotor off. Now sometimes, again, you might have to smack it with a hammer if it's been rusted. This one seems like Just with some persuasion, she'll come right off.
Alrighty guys, welcome back. Now that we've shown you how to remove your factory setup, we can start installing our new pads and rotors. We're going to start here by installing our new front rotor, and that simply just slides on to our lug studs like so. Now notice this kind of hangs off like that. A good trick if you want it to sit in place so you can get your rotor or your caliper and pads on rather. Take one of your lug nuts, just run that in on your stud. And that'll hold it in place nice and straight so we can go ahead and get the rest of our brake job done. So now we're going to go ahead and use our piston compressing tool to compress our pistons. Since this is a fixed rotor 4-piston setup, you will need this style of compressor tool as opposed to your floating style. Go ahead and get that into position. Go ahead and start cranking on that. So they bottom out. And now we can go ahead and get our caliper back into position over our rotor. Then we can go ahead and reinstall our factory hardware. Get our top one threaded in a little bit, and we'll get our bottom bolt threaded in. Make sure that lines up. And seats. We can go ahead and tighten these back down. And we'll go ahead and get these tightened back down with our 19mm socket on our ratchet. We'll get our bottom one tightened down. Now that we have our caliper installed, we can go ahead and get our new pads in place. And these just simply slide back in like so. It may still be a little tough to get in even with your pistons compressed. You just want to be patient, work them in. So we've got those worked in. We're going to get them lined up with our slider pin holes. So before we get our pins back in, we need to replace our retainer clip here. We'll get that into position and hooked in. And we'll go ahead and install our slider pin. Make sure that's seated. And we'll go ahead and install our top slider pin, just like so. And then we can go ahead and install our retainer for our sliders. You just need to line up your holes. A little hard to see, I know. That one inserted, bottom one in, and get your center clip in. And once you've got everything back together, we can go ahead and reinstall our brake line and ABS bracket. We'll go ahead and reinstall our 12mm bolt here. And we'll use our 12mm socket on our ratchet to tighten that back down. And once you have this done, you can go ahead and repeat this process for the other side. So now we can go ahead and install our rear brakes. And a good tip before you install these new brakes is always to clean them off with a brake cleaner or soapy water, just to get any grease or film on them that was put on from the factory to prevent corrosion. So we'll go ahead and install our rear rotor. Now you notice this is a drum-in rotor assembly, and we have our tensioner here for our drum shoes. So you want your adjustment hole to line up with your tensioner there. So go ahead and slide that on so you can still access your drums without having to remove your rotor. Then same as the front, we'll go ahead and grab one of our lugs, run this on just to help keep our rotor straight on our hub. Just remember to take this back off before you go to put your wheel on, because you might notice it too late and wonder why your wheel's not going on. Now we can go ahead and get ready to get our caliper bracket ready to go back on. And we're going to go ahead and install our new slider clips. There's just go ahead, pop right on like so. Snap those into place. You want to make sure these ears here face the outside so they're not interfering with your pad or rubbing on your rotor. And once we have those installed, we can go ahead and get our caliper bracket back on the truck. And we can go ahead and get our bracket lined up and reinstall our factory hardware. We'll thread it in, line our top bolt up. We'll go ahead and grab our 19 mil socket on our 1/2 inch ratchet. And snug them down. Next, we can go ahead and get our pads installed. Now it is, again, always a good idea to grease up your sliders and all that, just to make sure there's no brake noise and proper travel for your pads. Go ahead and slide pad in here. And once you have your tabs worked in and your pads are set, let's go ahead and level them out to the rotor. So we can go ahead and get our backside one on as well. We'll just slide this in. And we get our back pad set. Go ahead and center those up, make sure they're in. Now we can go ahead and compress our piston. So we'll just use our compression tool here, get it hooked on part of the caliper bracket, and squeeze that in until it bottoms out. Now you always want to be careful not to damage the seal around the piston or anything like that. If you do notice any kind of corrosion or gunk, you can always clean it off, make sure your piston flows freely before reinstalling it. So now we can go ahead and get it back into place. Make sure our rubber boots seat back into their spots here. Now we can get our slider bolts back into place. Also, great time to grease them. It's a cheap move to prevent any brake sticking and premature failure, anything like that. Get our bottom one in line here. And we can tighten these down using our 17 millimeter socket on our ratchet. And then once you have these steps completed for your front and back, you can go ahead and repeat this process for the other side. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up our review and install of our PowerStop OE replacement 5-lug brake rotor and pad kit front and rear for your 07 to 21 Tundra. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Tundra, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.